I made a mistake. I thought that my test about geography would be today, but the test will be tomorrow. Then today I will make other video about the former of the Brazilian territory, but I won't talk about the same topic that I talked yesterday. I'll talk more about other part of the former of the Brazilian territory. I studied and after the had the farmer by indigenous by Tupi, Guarani, and the G. After it, you have the Treaty of Tordesillas that the Portugal and Spain marked a territory in the map, and some languages would be to Portugal and the other to Spain in the Cabo Verde, and the Treaty of Tordesillas separated the part of the map that would be to Portugal and Spain. After it, they had the expansion by Bandeirantes. The Bandeirantes expanded it to a large territory in Brazil. They went to Amazonas, Goiás, Mato Grosso, and the Rio Grande do Sul to seek for gold, lands, and resources. The Bandeirantes down to Brazil to the northwest, to the south, conquering and having fights with the indigenous people and the Spanish guards and the Spanish guys. After it had the Guarani War that some Spain tribals and indigenous had a revolution, but these don't bring great outcomes, big outcomes. After it had the purchase of the Acre from Bolivia, and after it the Brazilian territory was former, don't didn't have any change. The last trait that changed the Brazilian territory was the Petrópolis trait in 1922. But I searched and the gold in Brazil isn't so big than is in other countries. And I heard a lot about Brazil had a lot of gold. The Portuguese robbed our gold, but in my search, I I saw that Brazil didn't have a lot of gold. United States and other countries have had and have so much more gold than Brazil, a, a lot of more, so much more than Brazil. And Brazil is famous for gold and minerals, resources, natural resources. This is in our flag, the yellow of the gold, the green of the forests, and the other parts of the flag. But Brazil don't have a lot of gold like United States, Australia, and other countries. And I search in GPT, and he said that Brazil don't have so much gold now, and they didn't have a lot of gold. If Brazil didn't extracted any gold, he would have two 2000 and some 2000 of gold, but I don't remember the weight, the length. I think it's 2000 resources, 2000 something. But this is the sixth country that would have the more gold. United States would have 20,000. This is 10 times more, and the United States isn't famous by his gold. It's famous for capitalism, for oil, and silicon in Silicon Valley, and about the other natural resources. In my searches, Brazil don't have and they didn't have so much natural resources than I thought. Because in school I was taught that Brazil was a land of natural resources that had diamonds, silver, but other countries have more than Brazil, and this is something new to me because I thought Brazil is the country of the gold, silver, and the natural resources. But if you compare with other countries, Brazil isn't the best. It's a big player, top 10, top 5 maybe, but top 1 it isn't is. It is more top 10 and maybe top 5. That isn't what I thought in my searches, but I could be wrong. And this is the form of Brazilian territory, what I learned. Had the indigenous form of territory after the Treaty of Tordesillas that Portugal and Spain split the South America, and Portugal stayed with one part of the Brazil, and the other parts stayed with Spain. After it had the expansion by the Bandeirantes that to the northwest down to the south and had fights with the indigenous and the Spain army guards in this territory that Bandeirantes had fights wasn't in the Treaty of Tordesillas, but they conquested, they went through it, and they after had other trades that gave this territory to Portugal because it already conquered it. They went to these lands because had natural resource, gold, and economic resource. After it had the War of Guaranipi, and this war wasn't so important. Was 2 years of war to these lands that Bandeirantes conquested. The indigenous and the Spanish had a revolt, but this wasn't very big. After had the purchase of Acre from to Bolivia, and the last trait that changed the Brazilian territory was the Treaty of Petrópolis. This was the last trait that changed the territory of Brazil. The territory of Brazil in the very moments stayed almost the same, but this trait changed the past territories and was the last trait that changed the Brazilian territory. Now Brazil is the same that he was in the Treaty of Petrópolis. I did my best to make this video. I will do the test tomorrow. I hope you liked it. Thank you for your attention. Bye.